jacked in the stands, not a folding chair, nah, with a 6-gallon plan. Fast pitch is life, D1 is the mission. We push them hard, ain't no time for permission. From the weight room to the plate, we spit motivation. Yeah, we yell at the but it's pure dedication. Got the podcast booming, the whole team listen. Big dudes, big hearts, and the scholarship glistening. Big dudes, big hearts, and the scholarship glistening.
Hey everybody, I'm Rob.
And I'm Chad. And we're the Bucket Dads. Hey, we got a pretty cool show for you today, guys. You know, we've been trying to kick this podcast off for a minute, and we've been kind of trying to launch this whole Bucket Dads thing. And, you know, I think it's important that we just kind of launch with something really simple, really basic, like who we are, who we are, what we're about, who our kids are, what our affiliations are with softball, and what this podcast is all about, and hopefully what it grows into.
100%. You know, just try to be completely authentic so you know who you guys are dealing with, who you guys are subscribing to, and who you guys are sharing. And, you know, a little bit of background history on the two of us.
That's right.
You know,
today's been a pretty cool adventure. We were talking about launching some other stuff, and Rob got a hold of me, and he was like, hey, man, I think we need to wind it back a little bit, and let's kind of start from the beginning, right? So who are we, man? My name is Chad Guild.
And I'm Rob Whalen.
And basically, both of us have girls in fast pitch softball, 12U. And they play for the same organization.
Yeah. And the two of us met because back before our girls were playing travel ball together, they were on the same rec team.
That's right. And they both been playing rec for a minute. Rob and I have been kind of doing this, I would say, you know, probably the last 3 or 4 years before we got into travel ball with like T-ball, you know, park and rec. And Rob has a lot of history with softball. I played a little softball as an adult. As a kid, not so much. I never got into where our kids are right now. I can't relate to that in my childhood memories. But so my kind of start has been, you know, with this park and rec, and basically when you and I kind of started kicking this whole thing off, you know what I mean? Yep. And it's been cracking. We were like, hey, we should get a podcast, and we have so many cool things that we can talk about, and we're going to talk about. And first of all, man, let's talk about Rob. Let's talk about you.
Yeah, well, I come from like a baseball background, and you know, I want to be a pro baseball player my entire life. And I knew when I was 5 that I wanted to be a pro baseball player, and I was just that kid that was constantly going and getting it, which, you know, I wish my daughter was more like, but I was constantly like taking the ball in the bat, going down to the school, you know, and throwing the ball off the wall, and just like never had to be told to like get it. I always wanted it, right?
Did you have the opportunity that, like, as a kid, did you have the same opportunities though that Zeva has today, do you think?
Hell no.
Right?
No. You know, in the world that we live in today with the internet and having video, you know, like basically every single coaching drill, every single like technique right at your fingertips. All you have to do is like want to find the information.
Right.
No, I didn't have that.
Well, right. No, but I mean, your mom was totally down to, you know what I mean? Your parents supported you to get into baseball.
Yeah, my mom more than my dad. My mom was definitely more of the athlete. My dad was, you know, just kind of like the more engineer, get her done, builder type of guy.
Hot rod car building.
Sure. Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Exactly.
Cool.
So like I wanted to do that for a long time, and you know, I played competitive travel ball like since I was 2nd grade, probably. You know, and played it all the way through up to high school, where then I transitioned over to high school, and then I was like all set, you know, and ended up getting private pitching lessons when I was in 8th grade. Had that all the way through, I think, my junior year, and I was, you know, gung ho on going and playing for my pitching coach, which, you know, I technically went to the school to go play with my pitching coach. Problem is that I threw my shoulder out after an unsuccessful surgery that didn't heal properly, and turns out that surgery at the time was experimental. And it had like an 80% failure rate after like 5 years, which, you know,
mechanics.
I was part of the failure rate.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately I didn't really go, but, you know, I was really, you know, really wanting to do it. And, baseball was like my whole life. And so when that came to an end, man, it kind of like threw me for a loop, because I didn't really have a backup plan, because I was so certain, you know, that I was going to go, you know? But life goes on, you change. And so I ended up getting into digital arts and design, you know, music, audio, video, and stuff like that, which is one of the reasons why this podcast is coming together.
Right.
Because like I'm kind of
boom, here you are now.
I'm kind of the nerd, the dork behind the scenes, cutting it and editing
Definitely,
it, and,
definitely
you know,
the
all
nerd
that
behind the
stuff,
scenes.
right?
Absolutely, man.
So it worked out, you know, and then the other thing is that when I was younger, after baseball didn't work out, you know, I used to love watching softball with my mom.
Yeah.
Like this back in the Jenny Finch days when she was at Arizona, we used to watch the hell out of softball.
Absolutely.
And that's when I really started to realize, well, also when I was younger, back in the day, I dated a fast pitch pitcher. And since I was a catcher before I was a pitcher, I caught for her, and that's when I had a lot of respect for fast pitch pitchers. So I realized
that's when his first love of softball
that
began.
ball is coming in quick. It's coming in quick.
Yeah, you've been paying attention to the ball.
Yeah, and plus, you know, they're only throwing from like 40, 43 feet away, and I was used to 60 feet, so it's like it's quicker, it's faster. You know?
That's something to be that is something we'll talk about later with that whole reaction time against softball and Major League Baseball and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But super cool. Anyways, continue on, man.
Yeah, so life goes on, graduated, went to school and all that, got pretty good at the technological aspect of media, and going down the road, I ended up having my daughter. And shortly after my daughter was born, this is like a couple years later, I ended up having a surgery that did not go as planned. I ended up getting basically butchered by a surgeon, and he perforated my spinal cord, which left me like paralyzed in a wheelchair, and I had to learn how to walk again.
Right.
And that was a struggle. That was pretty much the hardest thing I've ever had to deal with in my life.
And this is one of those kind of those stories where you're told like you're never going to walk again kind of story. Right?
100%. They wouldn't even discuss like how to use like crutches or anything like that when I was going to rehab. You're in a wheelchair, bro.
Yeah, but that's the way it is.
Transitioning from wheelchair to the toilet. That's what you need to learn how to do. You're like,
you don't get it, but I understand mechanics.
Yeah, exactly.
I understand mechanics, dude.
Exactly. So
I understand mindset.
So I blew the minds of surgeons. Within like I think it was 7 to 8 months, I was up on crutches, and like a few months after that, I was up on a cane, and I was and there's a lot more to the story. I'll be releasing a book one of these years, talking more about the ins and outs, because trust me, there's some crazy things that happened that probably isn't appropriate for this show, but like miracle stuff, better living through chemistry. I'll leave it at that. So, but anyways, so then the problem was that I wasn't really as instrumental in my daughter being an athlete as a typical parent would, because here I am, crippled, disabled, you know what I mean? But, I tried to push her as much as I possibly could. And she ended up like basically saying, stupid softball. I don't want to play softball. I'm just going to do soccer. Well, she did soccer. And then she learned that
soccer's a fun sport, but you're not
a fun sport, but unless you're scoring goals.
Unless you're one of the hot shots who always has the ball.
Right.
Or they're always, you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of, you're just running up and down the field a lot.
Yeah, exactly. And so what happened was she was a forward, and she was scoring a lot of goals. And then she got on a team with, and like some serious daddy ball stuff where the coaches basically never let her be a forward because she was outshining the other forwards. So they stuck her back at defense. They pigeonholed her at defense at a young age. And so basically she got that killer instinct of being a forward.
Right.
Reset. And now it was all just defense. And then so she started getting into being and wanting to be a goalie. And that kind of worked out for a little bit until she got on a really good team. Then guess what happened?
Right.
The ball never came past the midline. And she was just standing back there in the goal, getting rained on in Oregon.
Right.
And windy and not doing anything. And finally, her mom and I were like, hey, why don't you give softball? You know what? Tell you, we're going to sign you up for softball, and you're going to try it. And if you don't like it, you never have to play again. And if you do like it, then great. You know?
I feel like too with softball, not cut you up. I feel like with softball, when you're just learning the sport versus soccer, when you're just learning the sport, right?
Mm-hmm.
It takes a lot more time. You wait on a lot more play time with soccer. You know what I mean? Like the ball, there's a lot of action that you're not getting in on all the time when you're just learning soccer. When you're 10, 9, 10 years old, it's a lot of chaos just up and down the field.
Yeah, it's just ball chasing.
When you're into softball, everybody's getting a chance, especially when they're down in like Park and Rec. Even when they're still on the tee at Park and Rec, everybody's getting a shot to hit the ball. Everybody gets a shot to run the base. And even like when we get into moving forward, there's like everybody's involved. And so there's definitely no downtime like it is with soccer, like getting rained on.
Correct. And you know, it's like, it's not about who can run the fastest, because in soccer, it really is, honestly, when you're younger, it's about who can run the fastest, because you don't have the ball control. So if you can't outrun
but that needs
people,
to develop into skill later. As they get older, that comes into skill.
Yeah. As you get older, the running fast isn't really the important part. It's how well you can control the ball.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a game of keep away, right?
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, soccer's definitely skill.
And so I was trying to get her to like work on it in the backyard and stuff like that, and she just didn't really have that ethic, because, you know, honestly, it's just kicking around a ball. You know, at least with the softball, you can throw it at things, you can bounce it off things, you can hit it off things. You know,
there's two aspects, right?
Yeah,
three aspects.
Yeah. You can catch pop flies.
That's right.
Kicking a soccer ball back and forth with your dad gets a little old real quick, you know, especially when I'm having to like hold on to a cane while I kick a ball, and then you know, her mom isn't the most I guess sports oriented, I guess you could say. You know, she likes watching sports, but she wasn't really an athlete. She played some volleyball, you know what I mean? She did some of that, but she wasn't like gung-ho like I was when I was younger, you know? But anyways, fast forward. So we ended up getting her into softball. And I remember the very first practice. I don't know. Were you there for that first practice?
I'm not sure which one.
So Zeva goes out, and Jeff at the time had her go out to third base, and he like, you know, basically gave her a freaking grounder or something like that. She fielded the ball at third base and threw a freaking rope over to first base. And whoever was on first base wasn't expecting a perfect throw.
Oh my gosh.
And tried to catch the ball and missed it. And the ball went right past her glove and hit her right in the collarbone. Oh my gosh. With line drive, like almost a line drive for like, you know, for like 10, 9 years old.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know, as soon as I saw that throw, I was like, oh, this girl's going to be playing softball. I mean, I always knew that she had a really good arm as far as like accuracy. I didn't realize it was going to be like under pressure, first time throwing, freaking perfect throw.
Yeah.
I was like, damn. And then of course he's like, Zeva, hey, listen, do not be upset that you hit her. It's not your fault that she got hit.
Right.
Well, honestly, you could say it to a girl all you want, but for the next few weeks, Zeva was throwing one hops,
right?
Because she didn't want to hurt anybody. And I was like, oh no, we got to get back to that line drive throwing. So then that same practice, she went to go hit, and Zeva's a switch hitter. She's been a natural switch hitter since she first picked up a bat. She hits left-handed, right-handed. That year at Park and Rec, all she did was pretty much hit left-handed.
Yeah.
And I remember that very first practice, he threw her a bunch of balls, and I think she missed like one. The rest she hit them all. Right. And I remember him saying, "Are you sure this is the first time you've played softball?" Yeah. And she's like, yeah. And I was like, oh yeah, this is going to be great. And then after that season with the Diamonds, right? Diamonds. Abby was on that team.
Yep.
And
there was a few girls on that team that are still friends today.
Yeah, and Abby was trying to pitch back in the day.
Yeah,
you know?
She started her little her adventure. I think they all kind of. I think, you know, we'll get into it, but they all kind of like want to get a position outside of just being, you know, an infielder, or like everyone wants to pitch. Yeah, like they all decide they want to be a pitcher at first, because that's where like all the attention is, and it's hard to want to be a catcher at first, because like it's pretty scary to catch, man.
But Abby wanted to be a catcher.
She tried the pitching route first, and like I love my daughter to death. There's a couple things that my daughter just wasn't, and that's one was like super fast on her feet, and like a great pitcher. And she tried. We did some lessons. We did a whole. We went through a whole almost a whole season of lessons. Half season before it was about a half season, and then she got the opportunity to catch, and she was like, "Oh, I can do this."
I still believe that she could be a good pitcher, because I remember when I had her dialed in there for a little bit with her internal rotation, she was extremely accurate, and like there was a point where like I thought she was the most accurate pitcher on that rec team, but then the muscle memory got reset, and so she was going between internal rotation and hello elbow, and it was just like one would be like a strike, next would be a rainbow, next would be a strike, next would be a rainbow. It was just like, oh, I felt so bad for her, because she's so coachable. She's like a sponge.
Super
but
coachable.
Like, you know, it's like when you go back and forth between, it's like there's this confusion that happens.
Yeah.
Now that we've talked a little bit about Zeva, why don't you tell me about Abby and her, like, you know, progression on how she started getting into sports, and like what got her into softball?
Absolutely, because, you know, Abby started off, T-ball was there. We tried every sport under the sun, dude, to get her into something, and it was always kind of hard. And like I've told you this before, and this is one of my favorite sayings, is traditionally Abby's favorite sport has always been arts and crafts. You know what I mean? Like that's legit.
Yeah.
Abby can sew. Like you would like, you know, she before we got a travel ball. This is kind of funny, but like Abby has a sewing machine in the closet. Like she can sew stuff. She can put stuff together. She just got it. She's really artsy. She got into gymnastics when she was younger. She did the cheerleading, sideline cheer, and competition cheer, and which is kind of like, in a sense, the travel ball scene. Not really, but you do travel. And but it's at the same time, it's as expensive, but the game is only like a minute and a half long. You know what I mean?
How's the drama level in comparison to travel ball? Is it about the same?
Well, no,
there's quite a bit of drama in travel ball.
There's a lot of drama in travel ball, but I will tell you this: when you go to and all you parents out there that had daughters that did cheer, you can attest to this. When you go to a cheer comp in like Tacoma, Washington, where you have like 30 freaking schools show up, bro. Those girls are all jacked up on freaking Red Bulls and Monsters and freaking what, you know what I mean? And they're all from the tens level all the way through senior level, and they get super into it. But it's like all day long. It's like, and now from West whatever Tacoma, the cheer squad, and then they come in and they're like doing their little thing, and then they you rehearse so long. I would say 6 to 9 hours a week of practice.
Wow.
3 times a week, 3 hours a session, and they're rehearsing their routine over and over and over again. And each week they add a little bit of this, they do this or they do that, and they just add. And by the time they get to the comp, well, when you get up there, it's like 2.5 minutes long at best, bro. Like your kid comes out there and unless they're at the top of the thing, it's so fast, like 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes long, and then they're done. And then the girls just have to sit there and listen to all, and watch in support of the other schools, which is fun. We love doing it, but it's all day, all weekend, bro. Now the Cheer Galactics.
Wow.
So, but
yeah, that's not for me. That's not.
So, needless to say, when Abby finally
I respect it though. I respect 100%. The grind. I respect the grind. I respect the styles, the skills. I like watching the final product.
Cheerleaders are hardcore,
right?
bro.
You like watching the final product, right?
Oh, I mean, I love to watch the girls that get. Yeah. Man, whatever's getting them going, and they're into it, and they love it, and I love that.
Yeah, tight choreographed routines. I mean,
going back to the drama thing, bro.
Yeah,
bows. Anytime you got like 30 or more bows in a room, and there's like 300, there's drama, dude.
Oh man,
bow drama. You know what I mean? Bow knows bow drama, bro. And so I'm telling you what. So when she got into softball, when she got into taking a liking to softball, and basically coming up, once she realized that she could really hit the ball well, you know what I mean? Yeah. And then once she started catching the ball, and then once she started like getting that little position on 10U, and boom, it was once you start winning. Like softball's fun, and they say in the beginning, it's all about development. It's not so much about winning, and that's right. You know what I mean? You're trying to just become a better softball player, and it's true. But however, it's funner when you win.
Yeah,
it's funner when you win, dude. It's funner when you win. So like that.
Case in point, back the Diamonds, right?
Right.
We were on the Diamonds team, and we didn't win one game until the very end. The very last game was like vindication. Yes. We can do this.
Yeah, but you know how emotional that was when they finally won.
Oh yeah,
I can still feel that, bro.
I know.
So it's like overtelling. So when you're on a team that always wins, it's like telling your kid all the time that you love him. You know, right?
He gets a little numb.
Yeah, they get a little numb.
Yeah. So,
but not to be. I would never want to be on a team that didn't win all the time.
I know.
It's humbling.
I think like I've talked with Travis, Zeva's coach, and like basically the goal at the younger levels is stay above 500.
Sure.
If you're winning all your games, you're not playing hard enough competition. You need to try to be in that happy medium between 500 and 1,000.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Until you start getting to like,
that's why
I guess 16U, that's when you're like, okay, we need to win like every game because we need to get our national rankings up so that we get like recruiting and stuff like that. Maybe 14U, I don't know, but definitely at 12U, you definitely want to be right between 500 and 1,000.
And it's not hard because I'm telling you, there are some talented teams out there that are putting in the work. Like, they're not, we are blessed. We're on one of the best teams.
We are.
But I'll tell you right now, there's some freaking solid talent. That girl that we were watching over at that clinic the other night, whoever spawned that super child, neon girl we were talking about.
Yeah.
holy cow.
That girl, like, she'd been practicing for freaking Ninja Warrior for like the last like 5 years, man.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, she
wasn't huge as far as tall, but she was about as jacked and as shredded as you can get at like, 12, 13 years of age. Like, right. I was really impressed.
And she showed up. Exactly. She showed up, man.
Yeah, I really wish I could have figured out what team she was on. So when we say that our girls are on one of the best teams, like in the state, we're not on one of the best teams in the state as of right now. I mean, let's be realistic. We're on a first year 12U team, and there's some freaking juggernauts out there. But as far as the first year 12U teams, we are definitely on one of the best.
Oh, absolutely, in our area.
And because that's the other thing. At 12U, there is a big jump that happens when you go from first year to 12 to second year. These girls are growing, the hormones are kicking. Like there's some big girls that are second year 12U versus the first year. I just picked up. I like our odds.
We just picked up a new girl, right?
Yeah, we picked up a new girl, and man, Kaya, that girl can crush it. She's got a quick bat, and
she's clearly the biggest girl on our team.
She's an Olympic weightlifter, isn't she? She's like a power lifter. I'm pretty sure
if she isn't, she going to be.
No, she is. Yeah. No, I'm sure she does competition weightlifting.
I mean, she's already working on her mechanics a little bit, man. She's already crushing it.
Yeah. She looks like she has kind of an effortless swing, and the ball just jumps off the bat. And like we have a lot of power hitters on our team now too. I was counting them on the other day. I think only 3 out of the 12 or 13 girls we have are not like power hitters, but they have power, but they're not like power hitters. The rest of the team, power hitters.
It's like Abby's coach. One of Abby's hitting coaches. She's a D1 player. She told Abby, she said, every time you should try to hit the ball out of the park. Hit it
as hard as you can every
time.
Like obviously, you want to make contact, but your main focus is hit the ball. Make sure you hit the ball with power, and as long as you do that,
or take their face off.
Yeah, the ball's going to jump. Now there's an exception to this, and that is slappers, because there's soft slaps and there's hard slaps. And when you're trying to like place the ball in like the 5-6 hole, you don't necessarily want to hit it with power. You need to hit it with precision.
That's a different game.
But that's a different, but when it comes to just normal hitting, hit the ball hard. As hard, not as hard as you can, but almost as hard as you can, without sacrificing your mechanics, right?
Boom. There you go. Yeah.
And the rest
of
the
should have the same swing every time.
Yeah. Same swing, same speed.
It's all about timing, babe.
Like the speed of your swing does not change just because the pitcher gets faster or slower.
That's right.
It's just your timing on when you pull the trigger, But to go back about the about my injury, the reason why it's kind of important to mention is because that's what got me into really being a mechanic fanatic on a video level.
Guru,
because before I could absolutely demonstrate something, I could like show them, I could like do the actual thing, but because of my balance issues and stuff like that, because my hand doesn't work the way it's supposed to, like this one like works fine, this one doesn't. I've had to rely on other people's videos to really convey the concepts to Zeva and to some of the other students that I've worked with.
100%.
And that's why we're so lucky to be living in this time, and where we have like TikTok and YouTube Shorts and AI and exactly. And so
all this,
and so you take that into consideration with like the digital media chops that I have right now. I can easily take like multiple different slow motion videos.
Well, run us through that real quick. What does that look like? Let's say Abby's taking a lesson with you, which she has many times, and she's up to bat. You got the recorder going.
Yeah, I have multiple different Bluetooth triggers, and I have different phones set up on like tripods.
Right.
And I basically trigger all the Bluetooth triggers at the same time, and then stop them at the same time. And then I basically put them up like in a 2 up, 3 up, or 4 up. On like in an editing program, we use like DaVinci Resolve to do our editing, and I sync up the contact points of the actual, like when the actual bat hits the ball, and then basically I can play them all at the same time, and you can see how one swing is slightly different than the other, and like what was good about this one, what was so good about this one. You take the best ones, take the worst ones, and then you refer back to them over time, and you can look at how someone has improved over several months.
And it's really cool to show that to the girls. They like to see that.
That's the whole point. Yeah, that's when it really like registers.
They're like,
you can tell them all day long what they're doing. It's another thing for them to actually see it.
Yeah.
So that's really helped. But besides that, like playlists have been like my saving grace, and I don't think really a lot of coaches, maybe some do, but I don't think a lot of coaches really appreciate the fact that I have so much information organized for quick recall that if they just asked, I would be more than happy to share my playlist with them.
Sure.
You know, but like, you know, there's a lot of crap out there that, you know, isn't like solid, you know, tutorials or solid drills or stuff that's like 30, 40 years old that like isn't like, you know, with physics and like 40 body like motion captures and stuff. Like we've proven that those old ways are not the way anymore.
Right. We've come a long way. Absolutely.
And it's you know, it's cool to watch it progress, but it's frustrating when you get around some coaches that don't understand that, and like their ego gets challenged when you try to talk to them.
Well,
you know?
you also have,
and unfortunately, there's a lot of coaches out there like that. You know,
you have a lot of old school coaches.
Yeah.
You know, you have a lot of old school. We were kind of talking about this on one of our last podcasts where the ego kind of gets involved, and it's like, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah. See, I was really fortunate when I was younger. My personal pitching coach. This is one of the reasons why I'm so into mechanics too. Is that I had a really amazing personal pitching coach when I was younger. He was the head coach of Westland High School back in the day. His name was Pat Bailey, and some of you guys may know the name, but he ended up being the head coach at George Fox University for a few years. Oh. And then he ended up being one of the assistant coaches for Oregon State. I think when they made those back-to-back runs, or one of those back-to-back runs, or something like that, when they won the World Series. So he is a phenomenal mind when it comes to baseball, but just a really great guy. And he does not have an ego. He's a very just chill guy, and he's very approachable.
Right.
And as long as you have something to basically back up what you're saying, you know, just a little bit, he'll listen. He's actually like, you know, like the ideal non-egotistical, you know, coach that can function at a high level because he's just so approachable, and you don't want to let him down.
Right.
And you feel like you can talk to him about anything. Right. And that's kind of the way that I try to be. I try to be like that, because let's be honest here. Once you get in my situation and you get paralyzed, you don't get much of an ego anymore. Right. You know, like, you know, like
for our listeners that don't really know Rob too much, I don't want anybody to get confused. The guy moves around quite well for being paralyzed.
Yeah. I got paralysis in every one of my limbs in one way, shape, or form.
Hey, but he does manage to.
Mind over matter, dude. You know, you just got to keep on pushing. You got to keep climbing the mountain, and, you know, don't let people tell you no. Just keep on pushing. So, anyways, you know, I try to instill that idea into my daughter, and we try to instill that into Abby, and, you know, just keep on pushing. Don't worry about what everybody else does. Just push yourself to be the best you can possibly be. Don't compare yourself to anybody else. Just try to get better on your own, and eventually you will be the best that you can possibly be if you keep on with that mindset.
Especially being able to look at what you're doing wrong on a digital screen and being like, "Hey, Abby, look at your hips are completely open right here."
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And then come back and look at it again and see what you finally did right on the correction, and be like, "Oh, great correction! Look at what you did. Look at how bad it was. Now look at where it is now. Huge difference." Like if you actually ask Abby or Zeva, "Hey, you guys want to look at what you guys' swing looked like about a year and a half ago when you guys were at the batting cages?" They're like, "No." Be like, "Oh no, you should look at it." And you're like, "Oh my God, it was so bad." But like, it lets them know that all that hard work really has taken them from point A to like point T, you know, past B, C, and D, you know, all the way down the line. And they made some really killer strides. Yeah. You know, from barrel dropping and bat dragging and not, you know, swinging with their hips. And like we're not even at the 2-year point. We're almost at the 2-year point when they first started playing together. And man, it's like night and day difference from 2 years ago.
Bro, even just a year ago, look at the pictures we were looking at earlier today. We were looking at the kids with a little squat bar. We were using like 15. I think we started off with a 15-pound bar. It was just a generic bar, and it had a pad on it because they're just little wimps. Yeah, you know. Yeah, and I don't think I had one of. I know I've got plenty of Zeva too, but the folder I was looking at for whatever reason it didn't have any of her squatting. But you can just look at them from a year ago. You're like, man, they're just twiggy little, goofy little dorky freaking noodle kids.
Yeah, they got like a little that look in their eye, like they don't really know what they're doing, but they're kind of trying to do it. And now when you look at them in the weight room, they're just like they got the eye of the tiger, bro.
Well, that's why it's so important to, like, right now, while they're naturally growing anyways, is to just like capitalize on that natural progression anyways, and focus that on the certain skills that they're, you know, jumping higher. You know, if they just practice jumping higher right now, every day they just jumped higher, jumped higher, jumped higher. Bro, they would jump so freaking high by the time they were 16. They'd be world star jumpers because they're just, I'm telling you, like, they're just, all you got to do is feed them properly, give them some food and some sleep. Yeah. And goals to smash.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. But hey, circling back, man, you know, we talked about Abby, we talked about Zeva, we talked about me.
Yeah.
Let's hear a little bit about you and your background.
Yeah, man. Well, mine's kind of not as exciting as yours. I'm a Marine Corps veteran. After high school, I joined the Marine Corps, and you know, as a knucklehead, actually, I got my GED. I didn't even finish high school, bro. And I decided that I was gonna do it a different route, so I joined United States Marine Corps, Semper Fi. And from there, my career took me to a different path of, you know, I have a mechanical background currently. That doesn't really mean anything for the podcast, but just for the sake of conversation, I'm a, you know, local 63 machinist, outside machinist. I work on ships. And over the years, I've had to battle with keeping my weight on and off and trying to keep myself in shape, raising a daughter, trying not to look like a slump, right? Who's trying to like raise a tough girl. You don't want to be a slouch, if you will, you know?
Right.
So I committed myself to the gym, and it was somewhere where I found that I could just go there, my own spot in the world. And you guys know what I'm talking about. I could put my music in, zone out, sit there, and then just lift heavy.
Yeah.
Not really have to do anything, right?
Get swole.
And I did. I got really swole there for a minute. You know what I mean? Not too bad, but
you were looking pretty puffed up there, bro.
You know, I was doing okay, and life shows up. You know, I'm currently just trying to focus on keeping it a little bit trimmed down at the moment.
Well, softball takes over, man.
Softball takes over. Work schedules, and the most important thing is I've kept the weight off, so that's good. I just lost a little bit of that cool buffed out physique, but I'll get it right back.
Yeah, man. Well, I mean, you got the drive when you're ready to kick it into high gear. I know you will. I'm not at all worried about it.
Besides that, you know, my daughter I also have a son, and he also is a veteran, and he's an Army veteran, and he you know, he is jacked too. We'll get into that, and hopefully we'll have him on the show, but him and I both kind of did that together, kind of like Abby and I are doing this together. Jonathan and I kind of got into the gym scene together, just different geographically spots in the world, right?
Right.
And different times, but like I'm living vicariously through my, you know, 24-year-old son at the time, or whatever, however old he was. I think 24, 23 when he was really jacked, you know, and trying to keep up with him. That, yeah, you know, I think that for sure we were probably the most jacked guiles out there. I'm going to go ahead and claim that. I don't care what anybody says.
You probably are.
You know, and then otherwise going back into it, man, my background just leads us right into where we're at right now. It just circles back into, you know, I love softball. I played some as an adult, and now I have a daughter who we've been talking a little bit about my daughter. We talked a little bit about your kid.
Yeah.
Now we've mentioned that they play together on the same 12U team.
Yep. Blaze Lavenger.
Let's go.
Shout out Blaze Lavenger.
Let's go, Oregon Blaze.
Yep.
And they're both badass. The whole team is badass.
Yeah.
But if you guys haven't put it together, Abby's a catcher.
And Zeva is a pitcher.
That's right.
Yep. And
the commitment we have to do.
Yeah. And man, we're going to be getting into all that, man. It's been a crazy trip trying to find the right pitching coaches. Oh man, luckily we have a really good one right now. We'll talk more about him later, but his name is Scott Vandehei.
Yeah.
It looked like Vandehei, but it's pronounced Vandehei. And you know, he's a Polygirl fast pitch certified pitching coach and at the elite certification. So he's about as good as it gets. And there's not very many of those coaches in Oregon. I think there's like 2, and he's one of the 2.
He's definitely a badass.
And man, we're so thankful that we have him, but we'll talk about him another time. But luckily, I was smart enough to do the research and figure out the mechanics of pitching like earlier on, back when we were on the diamonds.
Yeah.
And I got Zeva,
because it was all about hello elbow.
Yep. I got Zeva onto internal rotation within like 2.5 weeks of starting to take her down the pitching route. And I was like, nope. I figured out real fast the hello elbow was not the way. And luckily, like, she's been, an internally rotating pitcher, like, pretty much the entire time.
I'm not sure if that's just where they naturally start them all out. You know what I mean? Because it's just I don't know. It seems like they all kind of started with a little bit of hello elbow, huh?
Yeah.
And then once you kind of like,
I think it's about the coaches at the time at that level.
yeah.
I think that they're so used to that old style of touching your nose. Like if you look up like how to pitch, like even still on YouTube, there's a tutorial with this blonde chick. She's like, you want to do this and go into the power K and then come through with a wrist flick and then touch your nose. And I'm like, girl, like, I don't even know why you still leave that up. Like, yeah, like it's known that is not the way anymore. Like, you know, it's all about, you know, it's palm up, not pop down when you come through, snapping across. And anyways, so luckily I got her on that tip. And, you know, there was a point in time, you know, where she might revisit it, but that she was doing it left-handed and right-handed. And, you know, like maybe she like, you know, goes back to it. She's kind of abandoned that because like the team that she's on, the coaches like right at the beginning were like, yeah, I really think she should probably just go right-handed. I think, you know, and it's just like, yeah, I kind of wanted a coach that would foster both sides, but you know what? You can't always get what you want, and we'll take what we can get. And over time, Zeva has been working on it a little bit, but this next winter, we're going to do some, rec along with club, right? Because they let you, you know, there's a place called Willow Creek that lets you have a club card and play rec. And the rule is if you're going to pitch in rec, you can only pitch left-handed. So she's going to have to work on that because I really want her to turn into a badass ambidextrous pitcher because I know she can because she had the freaking internal rotation down left-handed there for a while, but, you know, she went away from that. And so we'll see if she can get it back. And if she doesn't, she doesn't. But you know what? It would be so badass because we have an ambidextrous glove and we have a 6-finger glove.
Yeah, that was weird.
Cool.
The first time I put it on, I was like, oh, this is weird.
Know, right? It'd be so cool for her to like, you know, to like break out right-handed and switch on over to like a drop curve left-handed and, you know, something else. But
that would be
you know,
wild.
because in softball, because I've checked the rules, unlike baseball, there's no rule about switching mid at bat. So you can throw a pitch to one batter right-handed, then switch the glove and then go left-handed on the same batter. In baseball, you can't do that.
Isn't there a pitcher on the D1 level that does that?
I think there probably is. I've heard rumors that there's an ambidextrous pitcher out there.
I'm gonna look that up before. I'm gonna look that up.
But yeah, you know, it's because I mean she's really good. She's always been pretty ambidextrous. You know, when she first started, she was writing with both hands and all that.
Leave a comment if you know who that pitcher is. Like,
and now she's a switch hitter. You know, she can hit right-handed and left-handed, and she's pretty damn good at hitting left-handed. Man, she can place the ball just about anywhere she wants as a slapper. And
she's got that left hit. I mean, she's dialed in. There's slapping and man, just power hitting it out. Like she was hitting sweet tonight. She was hitting very well tonight. She's come a long way, man.
Yeah.
She really
so right now we're talking about how softball is life, and we're serious. Like it's winter workouts, and a lot of people are just starting to kind of crawl out of bed. Like, oh, it's time to get the girls back into softball. We've been going at it like 2-3 times a week, and now it's like cranked up to now it's cranked up to like 6-7 times a week.
I mean, it's like this, and it's been. To be honest with you, I think it's been like this. It's really been like, okay, Tuesdays practice, right?
Yeah. Well, hold on. Let's start on Sunday. We'll go Sunday through Saturday.
All right,
right?
We'll start on Sunday. Let's hit the Sunday. What do we do today? Well, that's only gonna last through the end of January. But for the whole month of January, Sunday's been a hitting or not just a hitting, but it's been a clinic out at Glencoe.
Yep.
All right.
One of the high schools around here.
Yep.
Shout out to Crimson Tide. Coach
Actually, and to be honest with you, and no disrespect to any other of the clinics, but in my opinion, Glencoe by far the best. I did tell Wade that tonight. I said, "Hey, thank you."
Yeah, it's true. Clinic. It's true. The ratio of girls to coaches, like, you know, there was a point in time where it was a 1-on-1 ratio, but like every single drill tonight,
I want to say he had like at least 5 varsity players there with him tonight.
Yeah. There's quite a bit of girls out there tonight, but there's also other coaches too that are like former D1 or like D2 players, you know, and like so like they broke out into drills and there was a coach at every single station.
Anyways, back to it. Monday, Zeva pitches.
Yeah.
Sometimes Abby catches for her, right?
Yep.
So they're doing something, and then tomorrow you're coaching them out tomorrow. Anyways, you're gonna have Coach Rob's got the girls tomorrow. Anyways, gonna do some hitting lessons with Abby and some speed and agility, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully with Steve. Okay, Tuesday we got team practice.
Yep. We have practice. We might even go to the gym after practice because we're starting to get in the habit of because we got to go to the gym 2 to 3 times a week.
Right.
So we've done that last couple of weeks. So we'll probably go to the gym after practice.
Wednesday we did the gym because we didn't have practice, so we did the gym last Wednesday. Abby didn't have youth group.
Mm-hmm.
Thursday practice.
Hold on, Wednesday we get together and do the podcast.
Wednesday's also podcast.
So that gets released on the following Monday.
Yeah. So that's part of it. So that's actually softball.
Yeah, softball.
So then we got
Thursday's practice. More gym. Right.
Friday.
I got pitching lessons. We got pitching lessons with Scott.
And if Abby catches whatever.
Yep.
And then the gym.
Yep. And then gym. And then we got Saturday.
Friday we did the Bullets camp.
Oh yeah.
Clinic.
Yeah, because if we're not going to pitching lessons, we go out to the Bullets camp.
Then Saturday, the clinic. Abby didn't go because we just kind of vegged out. We were just burnt out yesterday. But Saturday was Century. So you guys did Century.
Mm-hmm. Best bang for your buck. I'm telling you, man. It was like $5 or a can of food for 2 hours.
Holy
of
cow.
a really good clinic.
And that's Century High School.
Lots of coaching.
Hillsboro, Oregon.
Yep.
And how long does that clinic run?
It runs. I think that's going to go through February. They're going to do it all the way through February. But
truly is
Coach Russell. I don't know what his last name is, but he's got a lot of energy. I like his attitude. I think he's a former Marine as well. I think he's
once a Marine, always a Marine.
Possibly a drill sergeant. He was saying, "Hey, if I'm coming at you and talking to you afterwards, I'm not yelling at you. This is yelling, and you will know when I'm yelling at you." You know, and I'm like, "Oh man." So he's a great guy, and they were doing a lot of mechanics work and like stopping people and like trying to teach them like how to split their arms properly instead of like doing these crazy arm circles like softball freaking scap loads and stuff like that. I was like really impressed.
And that was 2 hours long.
Yeah, it was 2 hours. It was either $5 or a can of food. And then they're going to do I think this next Saturday they're doing pitchers and catchers only, and it's $10 or 2 cans of food.
Jeez.
Oh no, $10 for 2 hours of a freaking pitching and catching clinic.
Which brings you back to Sundays, which is back at Glencoe, only for another week or two in January, and then I'm not sure what's going to happen there until when that one's over.
Are they doing some? In February? I hope they do.
I hope they do something.
Man,
if not, the cool thing is at least Abby takes she does a hitting lesson with Kendall.
Yeah,
up there at Wade's spot. He's got his
Kendall's their varsity catcher, right?
Yeah,
she plays for the Lady Hawks out in Vancouver.
Yeah,
another showcase team similar to the Bullets. Yeah,
very intense. In fact, she's probably traveling right now, is why she wasn't there. In fact, I think I don't want to blow her up, but if she's on the social media, I'm pretty sure she's out of town right now.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I swear she's constantly, that girl is out of town showcasing it.
Yeah.
So shout out to Kendall, man. She really does. And she is a great coach. Anybody looking for a coach, she does good catching and hitting lessons.
Yep. So then tomorrow we have speed and agility, because I'm going to be coming on over and grabbing Abby and taking her on over to the house, and we're going to do some speed and agility over at the track, get her running and sprinting form dialed in. Then we're going back to the house and we're going to do some hitting mechanic works and just trying to dial her in just a little bit. She's come a long way. She's just got a couple more tweaks, and man, that girl's going to be crushing the ball.
And so here we are, man. And so we've developed, and so we both developed a love for the sport, especially with girls fast pitch. College ball. We're going to talk about so many things with this podcast.
Yep. We're going to be talking about D1. We're going to be talking about the AUSL. We're going to be talking
professional softball, dude. Yep. Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
Professional softball in our backyard here in Hillsboro.
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
That is wild, dude. I never would have thought that would happen.
Yeah. We're going to be talking about all the different tournaments. We're talking about Triple Crown. We're talking about PGF. We'll even be talking about overseas softball.
That's right.
Yeah, there's some girls that are crushing over in Japan right now, and
we'll have an email set up too, so you guys can like throw in the comments for us. You guys could watch the show, tell us what you want us to talk about. Yep. Hit us with some questions. Rob's a great coach, very mechanical.
Oh, thanks, man.
Does does 100% does awesome lessons, records, playback, slow mo. Completely analyze your kid's swing.
Yep.
And really just wants to see all the girls develop into badass little softball players.
Straight up, man. I just, we just try to bring these girls up to their ultimate potential.
Yeah. And there's quite a bit of talent in our area.
Yep, there is actually, which is, I think, why the Cascade decided to have home base here for at least the time being, and probably for the future, because, tickets are selling. But
I need to talk to another friend of mine. His name is George. He is all about the baseball. His son came up doing the same thing we're doing, but was with his boy playing baseball, and made it all the way through into college. And then his baseball career came to an end. But I'm wondering if it's as saturated as softball. I'm wondering if softball doesn't own a little bit, bigger chunk of the pie here.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know, but what I do know is that
Probably not.
the rate of viewers on softball has tremendous. I think I may have mentioned this on some other podcasts, because like we've done a bunch of other podcasts, we just haven't released them yet, and we will slowly release them over time. This is like basically our introduction one. But I'm almost positive that I saw some statistics saying that the growth of softball over like the last couple years has surpassed almost every single sport in the world as far as popularity goes over a short period of time.
Because like sports too.
Yeah. And it has to do with like the numbers off of ESPN and like what kind of viewers they were getting during like the World Series this last year versus what they used to get.
Yeah.
And it's a massive jump. We're talking like, I'm just spitballing here. Like let's say like 1 year it was like 250,000. This last year was like 1.7 million. Just like in 1 year. It's a huge jump. So it's growing real fast. And there's a lot of factors in why, and we'll discuss all those over time. But we're gonna have other
perfect timing for us to try, for us to launching a softball podcast.
Yeah, we've been at this now, talking about it and actually recording content now for about like 3 or 4 months here and there, just trying to like perfect our game before we do the official launch.
And then we'll have some clips to show you guys. It's been fun.
There'll be some throwback Thursday sessions, from like maybe from Medford and like some other times.
The dining room,
the very first podcast we did in the kitchen. We're going to release those. But there'll be in other podcasts, we're also going to be having different like gear reviews, some affiliate marketing where you can help like keep the lights on by clicking on the link and going to Amazon and like basically purchasing the gear that we already have, that we use, that we believe in, and it doesn't cost you anything, but it gives us a little slice of your purchase, which helps us out tremendously.
A little affiliate marketing.
Yeah, well, we're also gonna have some DIY stuff, some like PVC,
like construction.
Some PVC, like tips and tricks on how to like
save some money.
Yeah, like why spend $90 on something when you can build it for $5?
That's right, and you can probably build one for all the girls for $10.
Yep, exactly. Exactly, and and then of course we're gonna have our shop up here pretty soon. We are gonna be working with what's that lady's name? No, I know her name is, but what's her name? Yeah, what's the name of her thing? It's like do or die. DYE. Do or die. Yeah, we're definitely we're gonna be working. We're gonna be working with her, man.
Doing some custom orders of different cool prints, shirts.
Yeah, we already have them all done. We're just trying to find the right supplier, which we found her. She's going to be the one that does it. So our website right now, bucketdads.com, is under construction, but here pretty soon it'll different parts of it will become available, and definitely check it out. We're definitely going to release on Spotify for video, and then obviously all the different outlets for audio and stuff like that through RSS feeds and stuff like that. You'll be able to get the MP3 versions and all that, but also we're going to be on TikTok, Instagram, all that. We'll have viral clips on there, very, very soon, probably within the next week or so. So, it's really exciting. We got a lot of great things happening, and all this, we've been planning this. And then we just found out last week that the Cascade's going to be here. So it's like, boom, bam,
it was a sign, like, you guys better get this thing going. So we're like, all right, we better stop messing around here and just try to get try to get our name out there.
That's right.
And so that's exactly where we want to be. Where do we want to be in the next few years by the time our kids get to high school level? It'd be super awesome to be established, have some reputation with Cascade and even the hops maybe, and, have some. Well, anytime soon here, we're going to have some amazing, guests, and who knows who they'll be, maybe as time goes by.
So many guests that want to get on
here
because we're likable people, we're likable people. We keep it fun. We keep it PG-13 or better, but we're trying to keep our, our cursing and stuff like down to a minimum. We're not trying to drop F-bombs every other word and stuff like that, but we might drop some occasional profanity once in a while, but hey, this isn't a podcast for kids.
No,
this is a podcast for adults. This is a podcast for like-minded dads and moms and
don't get it wrong. It is kind of sometimes a family show, and if your family's like our family, well, your kid might hear an F-bomb every once in a while. But,
yeah, exactly.
But the truth be told, we will try to keep it as PG as possible, and we're going to have the kids on here too. eventually we'll have them. When we have had them, we've had the kids on there doing their reviews and talking their smack, and we've had them out here rapping. The last couple of weeks ago, they were under, Abby was like rapping to some, I don't even know what the heck was going on. That was kind of funny. I got some video footage of that.
That's right. I was doing the beatbox for her.
Yeah. She was getting down. I don't even know what she was listening to, but anyhow, man, that's basically it. That's who we are. And where we're trying to get to is just become a successful podcast that's going to cover everything fast pitch softball, from 10U to 12U as the kids go through it into D1. We're going to cover professional softball. Oh, I hear the guests.
Yeah, the circus has arrived. Yeah. We're going to cover everything. We're going to have all kinds of guests on here. We're definitely going to have some D1 players on here, probably some AUSL players.
Hopefully, that's what I'm getting
we're lucky. Like, you know, we're going to have coaches. We're going to have gear reps. We're going to have
definitely some D1 players that we know that are going to be on here.
100%.
You know, who eventually probably will become. AUSL.
A lot of other dads, other bucket dads who've had kids that have gone off the D1 and that can give some pointers on how to, like, the recruiting process and how to prepare. Yeah. You know, and we're also gonna have some bucket moms on here. You know, like we're gonna have like all kinds of tips and tricks on like crafting and stuff every once in a while. We're gonna have like, you know,
different ideas for fundraising.
Absolutely.
Different ideas for uniforms, putting different you know, it takes a lot to get the whole team. When we're gonna go to Medford, you know, there's a little bit of logistics that the moms do. The moms put together where they're going to stay and
travel hacks and stuff like that. Way to get group discounts. You know, just all kinds of stuff.
Way to make sure that the hot tub is working when we get there.
You know, like, so basically, if you're into travel ball, if your daughter plays travel ball or your granddaughter plays travel ball, you definitely you definitely want to watch this podcast, because you're going to get so much helpful, useful information. Plus, you're going to be laughing your ass off a lot.
It's just going to be funny. Yep. It's going to be hilarious. So appreciate you guys for hanging out.
Yep. And I guess with that, like, enjoy this track. This is like our song that we put together, and we're going to leave you with that. And it basically tells you everything you need to know about us. So until next time, y'all have a good one, and peace out.
Peace out.
Later.
It's that bucket dad energy. With a bucket dad, 40 and jacked in the stands, not a folding chair, with a 6-gallon plan. Fast pitches life, D1 is the mission. We push them hard, ain't no time for permission. From the weight room to the plate, we spit motivation. Yeah, we yell at the but it's pure dedication. Got the podcast booming, the whole team listen. Big dudes, big hearts, and the scholarship glistening. Yo, check the roster, 40 years on the clock, built like a brick house, I never skip leg block. My creatine tub is bigger than your catcher's gear. The wife rolls her eyes, but she knows why we're here. Daughter's got the cannon, her work ethic's obscene. 2 a days in the cage, fueled by protein. Soft toss is my specialty, I drop dimes all day. Perfect launch angle, there's no other way. We don't just watch, we observe, we analyze form. Got the NIL playbook, we weather the storm. See us coaching from the fence with the headset on tight. Yeah, we look like 2 roadies, but we fueling a fight. We got the new bats tested, we know it's legit. This ain't T-ball, girl, you better get with the hit. With a cool big dance, respect to the crew, but our girls work harder than the entirety too. Let me step in, big bro, let me finish the tale. You see the size of this bicep? It's not for sale, gym rat status. We benching the entire dugout. Daughters in the squat rack, trying to max that weight out. We got that adult humor, keep the energy right. Always sharing knowledge from morning till night. If you need a drill, a life lesson, or a new glove, we got that fast pitch PhD straight up from above. You see that umpire, he's making my blood boil. That pitch was low blue. You gotta put in the toil, but he's all out of love. Yo, we preach positivity, we just demand excellence, high level productivity. The other parents nod, they know the dedication. We the life of the tourney, the crowd's a formation. We got a live mic at all times, we never shut down. On the sidelines, in the stands, we the baddest dads in town. Got that mic check, 1, 2, every Friday night. Interview the coaches, keep the information tight. Talking spin rate, exit philo, the perfect pitch. We built this empire, ain't no stopping this glitch, cause we're the bucket dads. Yeah, the ones you rely on. Get ready for the next level, the future is now, come on. It's that bucket dad energy.